When we first knew St Fagans in the 1980s, it was known as the Welsh Folk Museum and had already been open for more than 30 years. In fact, it was one of the first open-air museums in Britain, and our children loved it, returning time and again. The concept, radical back in 1948 when Dr Iorwerth Peate opened its gates, was to bring together historic buildings from all parts of Wales and rebuild them stone by stone, brick by brick, thatch by thatch in the parkland of St Fagan's Castle. Since 1948, over 40 buildings from different historical periods and all parts of Wales have been re-erected in the 100-acre parkland. Among them houses, a farm, a school, a chapel, a tannery, a splendid Workmen's Institute and, latest, a Victorian pub from Cardiff. Today, those buildings look as if they've always been here, set among fields of sheep and linked by shady country lanes. Once past the modern block that forms the entrance, the museum opens up in a series of rural tableaux, with hints of what is to come beyond that hedge or behind those trees. The bold red Kenixton is a farmhouse where the Rogers family lived for hundreds of years on the Gower Peninsula in Swansea. The rebuilt farmhouse today is as it would have been around 1800 when Lation Rogers and his wife, their 3 children, a maid and a farm labourer lived there. Kenixton is painted red, ox blood and lime, because people believed that the colour would protect the inhabitants against witchcraft. It's a short stroll from there to the watermill, still in working order and capable of harnessing the power of the stream to grind the grain into flour. The building was once the hub of a farming community, turning the farmers' grain into flour like so many others across Wales. And St Fagan's has a collection of homes from various periods, from a late medieval cruck-farmed hall house built in 1508 and typical of the better class of Welsh farmhouse in the late Middle Ages, to a farm worker's cottage built around 1770 in Carmarthenshire, and of course several other examples. The tannery from Rheado was built in the 18th century and was the last traditional tannery to work in Wales and specialised in producing heavy leather boots and horse harness. The many tanks allowed the skins to be soaked in bark solutions, and the tannery sits on the edge of a small collection of houses and with a small lime kiln, probably closer than would have been comfortable in real life, as tanneries were notably odoriferous. The latest addition to the museum is the Vulcan Hotel, being rebuilt after more than a century in Cardiff's dockland. And for the first time, the museum will be serving beer and spirits to visitors inside its doors. As well as a rather splendid Workmen's Institute, a key establishment in many mining towns in the valleys, this village setting includes the Gwalior stores run by William and Mary Llewellyn in Ogmore in late Victorian times. It became a very successful business, eventually expanding into ironmongery, bakery, grocery, gentlemen's outfitters, a chemist and an animal feed store. And the working village blacksmith reminds us that Cardiff and the valleys stretching to the north were transformed by the Industrial Revolution and the mining of coal and iron ore, shipping it around the world. And that era is clearly exemplified by a small terrace that was built in Merthyr Tydfil by ironmaster Richard Crawshay around 1795 to provide housing for the workers in his iron ore mine. The 6 houses have been displayed at different periods in their history: 1805, 55, 1895, 1925, 1955 and 1985, meaning the changes in the buildings, their contents, and of course their gardens can be shown. And beyond them is a post-war prefab home, somewhat incongruous, but a true reflection of the enormous efforts made to provide housing after the bombings of the Second World War. Now, this part of the museum also offers a bakery, a toll house from the toll road near Aberystwyth, and an assortment of small business premises favouring the corrugated iron approach to structures common in many parts of Wales, but especially the valleys. My former colleague on the South Wales Echo, the cartoonist Gren, used to refer to the corrugated Baptists. And St Fagan's is very much a museum in 2 parts: the rural parkland of reconstructed buildings and the formal gardens of St Fagan's Castle itself. But first, back in the main entrance building, the restaurant remains in historic character, in as far as the food is concerned at least, offering faggots, mash and peas, long a valley's favourite, as well as Barra Brith, buttered of course. Now, a short tunnel decants you into the serene gardens of St Fagan's Castle, a true oasis of beauty. These meticulously manicured grounds showcase a tapestry of vibrant colours and fragrant blooms, but above all, water, as a stream running below the castle is guided, dammed and spilled into lagoons. And here you'll see a couple of reconstructed buildings as well, a Tudor barn and a working woolen mill. St Fagan's Castle is a Grade 1 listed building and one of the finest Elizabethan manor houses in Wales. Unfortunately, nobody but museum staff now seem to get to see anything other than the outside of the building and the formal gardens at the top of the steep slope up from the valley floor. The interiors have been closed off from the public for some time and were never much on show even back in the 1980s. In 1946, the castle, together with 18 acres of land, was donated by the Earl of Plymouth to the National Museum of Wales for a national open-air museum. Today, there's a picturesque feel about the castle gardens, with derelict-looking greenhouses and areas allowed to run wild, alongside highly formal spaces between high hedges. Nearer to the house itself, there are parterre gardens on one side, complete with fountains and statues, and on the east-facing entrance to the house, a carriage drive from the village circles a massive lead water container intricately decorated. But the best views are from the rear of the house, looking down into that landscaped valley and its pools. The terraced walks are a favourite spot with visitors who can sit and enjoy the spectacular views. But what goes up must come down, and we must descend the slope from the house into that valley once more, accompanied by the endless tinkling of the stream. As we climb the other side, tired after nearly 5 hours enjoying this special place, There are glimpses of the house through the branches of the trees, and you can envisage how it must have dominated the Tudor landscape when it was first built. It's a special place, St Fagan's, and as a national museum, entrance is of course free, and that's an equally special bargain, really.